Hi, welcome to Just Common Sense. My name's Brian Harrison. Guys, I got Jerry on the line tonight. Say hi, Jerry.
Hi, Jerry.
There you go. So anyway, we're going to talk about a couple things tonight, and then I'm going to do a separate podcast later as well. So we'll keep you briefed on what that's going to be. But basically, we want to talk about Tom Tillis, for example. We'll use him. We'll use Mitt Romney and a couple of them out there right now that are allowing this to possibly happen. It hasn't gone through the Senate yet. It still needs to do all this. But again, we'll see how it looks. But they're talking about red flag laws. I wanted to really look into this. Mental health. They've mentioned it. But again, these red flag laws, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all. Because I just read up on these red flag laws and other states right now. And when you're looking at a red flag law, for example, let's just say this. If all of a sudden I have a neighbor and I go tell my neighbor, hey, I'm going to go purchase a gun. I've got my concealed and carry. I think I'm going to go just purchase a gun. And that neighbor is anti-guns. That neighbor could call the police department and say, hey, I'm concerned about my neighbor because, he's talking about getting a gun and I don't know, just has some concerns. Are the police going to come over to the house? Perhaps, perhaps not. But again, at that point, it can go to a judge and there's your red flag, meaning that you may not be able to get a gun at all. Jerry, you were reading some of this. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I've got a big concern about the red flag laws because, for one,
Yep.
Something you and I have talked about, just between us is
Yep.
that there's no need for a red flag law because if you call the police right now and say, hey, look, I got a neighbor that's, doing something kind of crazy or doing something kind of weird,
Right.
then, they should go check it out anyways. And
Right.
so all a red flag law is it's something that the left is using to inch more towards full confiscation of firearms.
Right.
And so, by having these so-called red flag laws, what they do is they say, oh, well, if you know somebody that, might do something wrong, call the police and we'll investigate. No, they're not going to investigate. They're going to seize your guns.
No.
And then it's going to cost you attorney fees and it's going to take you 6 months, a year and a half to get them back. And the whole thing is the way the law is set up right now. If somebody's doing something wrong, call the police on them already.
Right. Right. And that's true. But these red flag laws, if you read through them, and guys, go out there and actually go to Google or whatever site you use and look them up. Look them up and read through it. It's a quick read. It really is. There's there's a lot there, but it's
depending on which state you're in, too, the red flag laws can be, they can be long term.
That's true.
So like it stays on the record, like it never goes away. So, one of the problems that I have with red flag laws is anybody could call in on anybody, and there's no consequences for the person who is calling the red flag in. So, for example, if my neighbor's upset with me and they're angry because maybe I mowed too far over into their lawn, so they call the cops and go, hey, my neighbor's pretty unstable and I think you should go check him out. Well, now they come seize all my guns.
Right.
And it's like, and then when they find out that all it was an argument over lawn mowing, there's no consequence back to the person that called it in.
Right. Yeah, and Jerry and I were talking about this earlier, and yeah, there should be. There absolutely should be. And,
there is for filing a false police report.
Absolutely. And, you talk about red flags. Jerry and I were talking about this, too. Next, it'll be red flags on driving. I mean, should there be on the way you drive? And, Jerry, and you go on to that.
Well,
Because
because what I was talking about was, so for example, once we get a red flag law on guns, which some states, like you said, already have them,
we're going to go into
what's next? It could be cars.
Yeah.
And, and it could just be like, oh yeah, you know what? My neighbor, he seems like he's out of sorts. And so, or my brother or my husband or whatever. And it's like, and so a wife just doesn't like the car that her husband has. So she calls the police and says she thinks that he's going to do something crazy with his car.
Right.
And they come seize the car. Now there's somebody sitting there listening to me right now saying, oh, that's crazy. Is it really? Because I'd have told you the same thing 20 years ago if you told me the red flag laws were going to happen.
Yeah. Look, I'm reading where a lot of these red flag laws are at. Obviously, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, District of Columbia, Hawaii, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, which throws me off a little there.
No, they're pretty liberal there.
Yeah, New York, obviously, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, Virginia, and Washington.
See, out of that whole list, the one that surprises me is Vermont, because even though Vermont's pretty liberal, they have a very strong outdoors and hunting culture there.
Right. And guess what? You're going to be shocked who's on there. There's one more, but I'm reading about this one in Florida. But the red law is this red flag law is a little bit different. Red flagging is a little bit different, I should say, because they have to do an investigation. There's a lot involved just to be able to flag somebody on that. And that's the way it should be if that's the case. It should be an investigation on the neighbor, on finding out if this neighbor was telling the truth. These other states, though, there are differences in these states, and I'm not going to break them down because, like Jerry said, there's a big read on some of these states. And obviously, where we're pointing as, where are these states? Liberal. A lot of them are liberal states. Where are most of these shootings? Where are most of these crimes going on? These states. Right, Jerry?
Yep, where there's already strict gun laws.
Rhode Island just passed, the Senate up there just passed a law, and it was my understanding, I spoke with somebody from there, and it wasn't enforced, but it was a law you can only carry 10 rounds of ammo in your gun. 10 rounds.
Yeah, I got to tell you, when I hear laws like that, it makes me think that, if something happens and somebody needed more than 10 rounds, like whether it was, a crime that, a group of carjackers came after them or something like that, and we never want to hear about a tragedy, but
of course not.
If somebody needed more than the 10 rounds and they didn't have them because of the laws, and they wound up getting killed, I hope the family sues the daylights out of that state and wins a bunch of money.
Yeah. Well, you know what they're going to start doing next. I mean, obviously, okay, I got 10 rounds in my gun, but I've got 5 clips on me. That's the next thing.
Well, no, if they're saying that you can only carry 10 rounds on you, that might be 10 rounds on you.
Right, and that's my next question. That's where I was going to go with that. I'm going to say, okay, is somebody going to misinterpret that and say, okay, well, I've got more clips on me, and guess what? Are they going to jail over that, or are they going to, that's where Jerry just brought up what I was going to bring up. I mean, I talked about this the other night, and obviously Biden ran his mouth last couple of weeks ago about 22s. Look, I showed it on my podcast how small a 22 bullet is. It's almost the size of a BB gun. You have to be a good shot to protect your family if someone's coming up the steps to protect your family with what? Well, he'd want 5 rounds in. If he had his way, nobody'd have guns. But it's not about guns. It's about mental awareness. I've said that. But again, this is a problem. And they need to get things under control here. But there are other ways of doing this. Jerry had a good point earlier. Obviously, if a neighbor reports something, then if they are falsifying a statement, they should be charged. They should be. So.
Yeah, there needs to be proof.
There needs to be proof.
And it's like, for example, if they're going to call in on somebody and invoke the red flag law, whether it's a neighbor or a relative, whatever, there needs to be some sort of proof, whether it's, video showing them walking around their living room yelling and saying, yeah, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. And it's like, or a history of, physical violence or, something like that. But there has to be some sort of proof. But, the way that they're written right now, there's no need for that proof. You can just literally call anybody in at any time.
Right.
And just make up whatever you want to make up. And then if they say, well, why did you think that? Oh, I don't know. I just had a feeling, and that's all you got to say.
Right. And guys, I'm actually reading stuff, so I am actually looking at stuff as we're talking. That's not like me, as you know, but I'm just kind of going over a few things with this. So, I mean, there's, if a judge puts this against you because of a neighbor, then it's a lot to get out of that and prove, hey, I'm not crazy in the head. The best way of saying it that way.
Well, not only that, but here's what's going to happen. You're going to be in some of these, because you were talking about how most of these red flag laws are in very left-leaning areas.
Right.
And so what's going to happen is they're going to come, they're going to take your guns, and you're not going to have them. So, now, A, you can't defend yourself, in your home. And, B, everybody knows, because when they see the cops come, what neighbors do. They always talk, oh, what was that about? Oh, yeah,
sure.
So-and-so. Cops came, red flag, they took his guns. Then it's going to take you months to work through whatever, charges there were, whatever accusations there were to get them back. And in a lot of these left-leaning states, I have heard stories about somebody where their gun is confiscated for whatever reason. And then when they go to get it back, they find, oh, yeah, sorry, it got destroyed, in our gun, buyback program. Somehow yours wound up in there. And, and you can't get it back once that's happened. Can you get a new one? Sure. But, the government's not going to pay you for it. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, sorry. Or they'll pay you far less than what value was.
Or they're going to put you through so much, and it's not going to be a year, 2, 3, 4 years down the road. You might get your guns back, or might be allowed to buy a gun to protect your family and yourself.
And something you just brought up too, you might get them back, or you might be able to buy one. What people need to understand is that when these red flag laws are invoked, what they're talking about is you can't go out and buy another one either. They don't just take away what you have. There's going to be a red flag on you, so you're not going to be able to go out and buy one either. So in the 6 months, a year, 2 years, or whatever it takes to get back, the guns that you had taken away, you still are not going to be able to go out and get another one.
Right.
And depending on the state you're in, some of them are not only prohibiting you from owning, one, but like you couldn't even go to the range with your friends. You can't even possess one, even temporarily, just to shoot. It's, nope, no guns for you, and you're done. And again, it varies by state and how severe the law is, but these red flag laws are a bad idea.
Very bad. Very bad idea.
Because we already have laws in place that say if somebody's doing something, you can report them, they'll get investigated.
Right. And that's the way it should be. So why do we need
another law? Yeah.
Right. And, that's where if you're a good neighbor, a friend, whatever the case may be, or even a parent, like I said, watch your children, watch what goes on. And if you see something where somebody's not acting normal, like I said, where they're posting lots of pictures of guns on their website, where they're talking a variety of crazy stuff on the websites out there, then report them. Definitely report them, because that's something that's obviously that's a red flag right there. And that's just common sense.
Yep, absolutely.
I think that's crazy. And anybody that talks about, oh, well, I think it'd be a cool thing to, if somebody comes up in my house, I'm going to shoot them. Now, let me tell you something. Jerry and I both, we never, ever want to see that. We don't want anybody in our house. We don't ever want to have to do that. But at least if we are in that position, we can protect ourselves and our family. But again, I don't ever want to see that. Yes, Jerry and I will go out and shoot, target practice for fun, and that's what we do with it. Some people go hunting with it. I get that. They go hunting with shotguns. But, and these ARs, we've talked about this in the past. They're to go to gun for a lot of these people. It's not because of the bullet. It really isn't. If you look at the capacity of the bullet and everything else, it's really a small bullet. It's not as big as you think. There are a lot bigger bullets out there. Let's talk 50 cal. You could buy a 50 cal. You want to talk about a very powerful gun? Far more powerful. Far more powerful than an AR. And you can buy them out there. Obviously, next it'll be shotguns. I could show you multiple pictures of guns. If it's shotgun, there's even 20. Let's talk about it. There's 22s out there, which obviously they get a lot of them in a magazine, but they can make them look just like an AR, and there you go. These are the things that we're talking about. You're not going to, because if you got rid of ARs, which is never going to happen, But if you did, then what are you going to get rid of? Oh, well, next it's going to be this gun or shotgun or whatever. And eventually you're going to dwindle down and you're going to say, well, guess what? We have no guns at all, and I can't go hunting at all. That may be the next thing. Oh, yes, but every criminal on the street has a gun. You know what you're doing? You're just basically opening up for the criminals to say, hey, go at it. I mean,
that's exactly it.
And what stupid senator would pass anything like this? What stupid senator? Let's talk about you. Let's talk about him out there, Mitt Romney. Let's talk about Tom Tillis. I hear a lot of talk because a lot of people are talking to me about Tom Tillis right now. And they thought he was the perfect one to go in there. Well, Tom Tillis, I'm telling you, your numbers are falling. A lot of people are talking bad about you. I hear it on the street. I hear a lot of people talking bad about you.
I didn't vote for him last time. I left that spot blank. I didn't vote for his Democrat opponent, but I left his spot blank.
Absolutely. And I'm telling you, he's not doing a good job. Not at all. Well, none of our senators in North Carolina are doing a good job at all.
Nope.
Not at all. Let's talk about Mark Robinson. Let's talk about our lieutenant governor. Guess what? I'm going to go to a party, and I'll be with him at a party in a couple weeks. I think you may be going too, Jerry. I'm not sure if you decided on that.
I still need to double check on that, but yeah, I would like to go, yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I'll be. And I hope he's our next governor, because I am not happy with our governor in there right now. This is a fact, and a lot of people aren't. We're not happy with
Cooper
the mayor.
Thinks that he's a king. He doesn't even realize
he's not.
He was a governor and that he needs to work with the state legislature. And,
yep.
He just, once the COVID thing hit, he abused the Emergency Powers Act.
He did.
Just started making unilateral decisions.
He did. Yeah. And let me tell you something, Governor Cooper. You're a public servant. Nothing more. That's all you are. You are an employee. We are the employers. That's the way it works. That's the way it works for the Senate, the House, the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, the House Speaker. You're the employees. We're the employers. Let's get that straight. That's what everybody up there keeps forgetting and around all these states, too. We hired you. Do the job that you were hired for, and that's what's important here. So, what you thought there, Jerry?
No, I totally agree. It's gotten out of control, and they have basically taken liberties that they really shouldn't be taking. And they're getting elected. They're making promises to get elected. Then when they get elected, they're just doing what they want.
Right.
And and unfortunately, that's on both sides of the aisle.
It is.
Tillis is one of the worst, though, because I always say that when you have somebody that disagrees with you, that's bad enough. But when somebody lies to you and says that they agree with you, and Tillis pretended to be a conservative.
Yeah.
And he was, a Republican in here in North Carolina in the state legislature. And I believe he was Speaker of the House at one point.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this is going to be a great guy. And then as soon as he got to D.C., he just became part of the corrupt machine and, became a rhino. And because I didn't really follow him that much when he was here in North Carolina.
Right.
And, but as soon as he got to D.C., he turned into a rhino and he started caving into everything that Obama wanted. And, then he was anti-Trump until he wanted to get reelected. And then he was kissing Trump's backside. And, then as soon as he got reelected, then, he didn't care about anybody else.
Well, look at Liz Cheney right now. She was all for Trump, too, at one point. Now look at her.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah. I don't expect to see her in office very long. I'm sure she'll get
I know that
out.
they're not necessarily traitors to the country.
No, of course not.
There's a fine line that they're close to it.
Yeah,
but they're definitely traitors to the people that put them in office.
Yeah, well, they're not doing their job. They're not doing the job that they promised the American people. They basically said we're going to do this, and they about face and lied. How about that? We're just going to say it. And yes, if you're out there, I just called you that. So there. So, that's one thing. Fed just raised rates today. 0.75. Is that right? I think it was
Yep.
0.75. Wow. Wow.
Well, that's on top of, wasn't there a quarter point raise
I
earlier
know.
in the year?
Yes. Wow. They haven't had a hike like that, and I don't even know if I was around when they did it. It's been
1994.
crazy. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. I was barely okay. Well, I was around, but you know,
Yeah, it's still a long time ago.
long time ago.
But another when you look at it,
Yeah.
it was a another point in time where the Congress
Yeah.
just was mismanaging the government, and
Yep.
inflation was getting out of control, and so
Yeah. And so what we're looking at here is, I have many concerns with this. I'm going to give me a minute to talk about this, Jerry. Okay. First of all, obviously house prices are up right now. We've seen it. They're like that through most of the country. We've seen this. And my concerns are this. Gas prices are up, inflation's up. My wife today was actually saying, "Oh my God, I went to the grocery store and I just got a little bit." She goes, "I got a box of cereal. It was $8 for a box of cereal," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy!" And it wasn't even a big box because they're taking half the. They're not proportion like they used to be. So I mean, so it's crazy, and you're going to have people out there, and all of a sudden they're going to go, "Oh my gosh, I can't pay my bills because food's too high, gas is too high, I can't even make it to work." And next, they're going to go, "I can't pay for my mortgage." So what's going to happen then is they're going to be foreclosing on their house. Mark my words, if this continues, there's going to be a lot of foreclosures out there. If you have a foreclosure in your neighborhood where you live, house values start dropping. This is a fact, 100% fact. I used to be a mortgage lender as well at one time. And this stuff will happen. Many other things. You're going to see cars getting repoed because people won't be able to pay for them. What is this going to do to the banks? It's going to put a big strain on the banks. What do we got with Joe Biden doing anything about this? Not one thing. Not one thing. Name an accomplishment that Joe Biden has done. Give me one, guys. Give me one. Don't say Ukraine because that's not accomplishment at all. Nothing at all.
He
Because
wouldn't have to be providing arms if he had done his job in the beginning.
right. And on top of that accomplishment that some people have told me, guess what? I was for helping Ukraine in the beginning to a point. But when we're giving them $42 billion, and God knows if we're going to continue to do this, when we got a border that's open, arms coming through there, drugs coming through for your children, let's make some sense out of this. I'm talking to the people on the right and the left, because I'll tell you, a lot of people on the left have been talking to me lately saying, I'm going to be honest, I'm thinking about switching over to the right, or I'm agreeing with you. I've been dealing with people from California who have been moving here, and they're saying they're getting out of that state because the left is getting too radical even for them. Thoughts, Jerry?
Well, on the foreclosure thing, it's on the way, and
Yes.
I mean, one thing I've been telling people for well, close to 2 years,
Yes,
back
you
during
have.
the election, I've been telling people that if
did.
Biden gets elected, this is going to happen.
Yes.
However, the time frame I was off because I thought it was going to happen sooner than this, but I think that big business in the media and high tech and everything like that have kept Biden well hidden
Yeah.
as far as his flaws and
Sure.
shortcomings.
Yeah.
So I think what's coming is something that was expected by most people that were paying attention.
Right.
And so what's going to happen with these foreclosures? Not only are you going to have people that all of a sudden can't afford what they have. Well, I'll give you a great example.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something out there, and for people that are homeowners, you've probably been exposed to this, whether you bought one or not. But a variable rate mortgage. If you bought a variable rate mortgage,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden things were okay, but then this whole economic hit happened, with COVID and everything like that, and then all of a sudden you're not making as much money in your family. And now with interest rates going up, guess what's going to happen to that variable rate mortgage? So if your
Yeah.
mortgage was $1,000 a month, now it goes to 1,200 or 1,300, or something like that.
Oh my
And
gosh, I just foreclosed on my home because I couldn't afford that.
Income went down,
right,
and your mortgage went up, and then all of a sudden gas prices go up, food prices are going up, toilet paper is going up, clothing's going up, all the things that we have. I saw an interview the other day, or not saw, but I was listening to the radio, heard an interview with a truck driver, and he's one of those long haul truck drivers. Yeah. And he said that right now he's spending not $500 every 2 days. He's spending an additional $500 every 2 days.
Yes.
And so if you think about that, if he's driving, 6 days a week, he's spending $1,500 a week additional in gas.
Right.
Now, some people might go, wow, yeah, that sucks to be that truck driver. No, it doesn't suck to be the truck driver, because guess what? Even though he's paying it up front, you're going to be paying him back for it. Right. Because he's going to have to raise his rates for hauling things. And so therefore the products, when they hit the shelves, are going to cost more. Yeah. So you and I are actually paying for this guy's gas, and he's just one truck driver.
Right.
But, so with prices go up, like I said, there's a lot of people out there whose incomes have gone down. And so with prices going up, interest rates going up, and in addition to that, there's an X factor. For a while, there was people playing with, monopoly money, because they were moving out of places like New Jersey and, California, and places where real estate was really high. And they would sell a house they'd been in for a long time and take a whole bunch of cash out, come down to a state like South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, right, and put, $200,000 or $300,000 down.
Yep.
And sometimes they would pay over the market value. Right. And it's very, very common right now for somebody to walk in, see a $350,000 house, and say, you know what, I don't even want to argue with you. I'll pay $450 for it. And they'll just pay $100 over asking value just so they don't have to negotiate or anything like that. So now we got a bunch of people that are in houses that they overpaid for. Mm-hmm. So that's also going to be a point for foreclosure as well, because now you got somebody that's in a house that is worth far less than what they paid for it. Mm-hmm. They might just go to the bank and say, you know what, you can have it, and just do a voluntary foreclosure.
Yep.
And same thing can happen with cars. The guy that bought that really nice pickup truck, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and all of a sudden can't afford the gas, he may just take it back and say, hey, I can't afford this, it's yours now. And, if the banks take these foreclosures in and now have all these houses, and if they take these vehicles and have it, banks aren't car dealers. Banks aren't mortgage brokers. So, they're not real estate agents. So what you're going to have is these banks are going to have to unload all that inventory, and it's going to go cheap, which is, again, like you said, going to drive the market down, and everybody's home values are going to go down. So it's a domino effect. And what's happening is instead of waiting for one domino to fall, they're all falling down at the same time. Interest rates are going up. People are making less money. Their prices of their items they have to buy are going up, and it's all happening at the same time.
Right.
Usually you don't see all of those things happen at the same time. That's what's dangerous about this.
Jerry, you're also going to see another thing too, because when these people when they're letting their houses go, they're going to sit back and they're going to say, well, you know what? We already messed our credit up. Why not just let our credit cards go too?
Oh yeah. Credit cards, cars, houses,
everything. They may keep one car tried to, because they want transportation, although they're going to pay an arm and a leg just to go somewhere in that car.
Right.
And then they're going to try to get parts for that car, because obviously we got part shortages now too out there for cars. So they're going to be sitting there going, great, now I got to get a part and I'm not going to see it for a month? This stuff could happen, guys. And it is happening. It's not even a could, it is. We're seeing it right now across the whole country. And Joe Biden, and Joe Biden thinks he's doing a good job. He's not running the country, I'm telling you. Harris isn't running the country.
There's no way he actually thinks he's doing a good job. He says that.
Something's up.
I think that.
No, and I'll just say it. I don't know what the deal with him is. He's not doing a good job otherwise. He's doing a terrible job. Probably the worst president. I'll say it. He's the worst president in history of any president. Oh, yeah. He really is. I've never seen anything this bad in my entire life, and it's going to get worse. I said this a long time ago. Gas prices were going to go up. Jerry said this. We've talked about it on the show. Then they went after the reserves, the strategic reserves, which Jerry and I've talked about that on this show before, what they're really for. Well, guess what? They're getting low. And now, guess what? He's going over to the Middle East, to Saudi Arabia, to ask them for, can we get fuel from you? Can we get these prices down? After he just called them a bunch of names. I'd be like,
that's like going to your next door neighbor
right,
and asking them to borrow eggs, and you've got a chicken coop out back, and you have a whole bunch of your own, but you just don't want to use your own.
Very good analogy. Very good. You know, guys, this thing could be fixed with a snap of a finger if he did his job right. Quit worrying about the green factor right now. Quit worrying. Because let me tell you something, we need to get these reserves, or not the reserves, we need to get these things open back up, these pipelines. Alaska, Texas. I mean, we could go on. But it's not going to happen. Because he doesn't care about what's going on.
He's wealthy, and he's, got people that drive him around and people that buy things for him. I mean,
absolutely.
He doesn't even have a concept of what the cost of a gallon of gas is. He may see it on a sign, or he may see it on a TV show or something like that and go, so gas is $5, but he has no concept about how much it costs a tank of gas and how much a percentage of what somebody makes in a month that they're having to spend on gas now, because he has become so wealthy through his corruptness as a politician that, not to mention the fact of what he makes right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and he was spoon-fed, by the way, when he was growing up as a child. He didn't grow up without money.
No.
He grew up with money.
Yeah, he tries to claim that he was this, kid of a blue-collar worker and all that. It's not the truth.
Let me tell you something. And I actually grew up on a farm. I did. I grew up, I was born in Tampa. I'll say I was born in Tampa, Florida. Then I went to a place called Zephyr Hills, Florida. Jerry knows Zephyr Hills. He knows that whole area, Lakeland and all that. A lot of farm country out there where I had horses, cows, gators running across the yard and things like that. We had a pretty good amount of land. But, again, I was up at 5 and 6, mostly 6 in the morning, where my dad was going, get out there and work. Go do this and this and this. And I'll tell you what, he would drag you out of bed pretty much if you didn't get out of bed. That's part of the Marine Corps. It was in him. So Jerry knows what that means. But, but honestly, I mean, that's where I grew up. And I didn't grow up with money at that point. I mean, I really didn't. It was get out there and work. And the reason why, guys, I'm so passionate about this, and you got these other senators out there, these senators I say that are not, is because I want to try to take care of the American people. I want to get out there, and I really do. I want to work for you guys and do what I can for you, because my heart's into it and my soul is into this. And the way I feel about this right now, I'm very passionate about this. And like I said, if someone offered me $1 billion, $10 billion, I wouldn't take it. I can't be bought out. And I would not be bought out. And a lot of people know me out there, and they know I am who I am. And I mean, that's why I sound a little heated on this, because I'm upset. And many people are in this country, because I talk to them all the time. We're all getting very upset about this. We're not stupid, and they think we're stupid. They don't think we see what's going on. Let me tell you, the people of this country do see what's going on. And wait till November. You're finding out when you're voted out. And we're already seeing the primaries right now. We really are. And there's a lot of evidence right there in that. You're going to see it. Thoughts, Jerry?
Well, there was a Republican seat flipped in Texas last night in the special election. In a really, really blue area.
Yeah, and it was 18. I forget the date. It was 18-something since that seat was turned. I mean, it was like 18-something. I can't remember the exact date. That's how far back. It went that far back. I heard about it tonight, and I'm like, wow, really? Guys, this is what happens when you mess with the Constitution of the United States and try to change this. This is the Constitution of the United States, and I would read this if I were you. Read this. Read the Declaration of Independence.
Well,
read
not
it
just
all.
read it, but also contact your
Right.
elected officials
That's where I was going to tonight.
let them know your expectations of them.
Yes.
And, I mean, because these guys, like I said, you get a guy
Yeah.
like Tom Tillis. I mean, that guy, he has gone up to D.C. I guarantee you that, he has been lining his pockets while he's up there because he's not doing his job. As far as, a senator from the state of North Carolina, he's not properly representing the constituents of the state that he comes from. So, the only other thing that you can assume is that, he's up there doing things for himself, which, must be what he's doing.
It's possible. I'm not going to go in and speculate on something I don't have proof on. I always say that. By the way, I want to go.
But why wouldn't he do his job?
I know.
I mean, the only reason would be if something in it for him.
Yeah. But I want to say this because this is something that's happened. And guys, for those of you who follow me on Twitter out there, and because I'm on Twitter a lot, and the reason why I'm on Twitter a lot is because a lot of these congressmen and women are out there. And I have called them out. There was a congresswoman, and this has happened several times. And she put some news information out there the other night. And I came back at her and I said this. I was real nice, but I said, all right, so you're putting, I forget what it was about, I'll be honest, because I've been all over Twitter lately. But she put something out there and I said, okay, where are you getting your evidence from? I said to her, I am calling you out in front of your followers, the people that are following you right now. I want them all to see this. And I said, two things. Either you don't know what you're talking about or you're lying. I said, I want to see facts. I want to see evidence. I want to see documentation of what you're talking about. We want proof. We don't want to hear you just say something and not have evidence. Because you need to back that up. If you're going to say something, back what you're saying up. And I said to her, I said at that point on it, I said, I guarantee we will not hear back from you. I'm going to give you 2 days. 2 days comes back, and I said, where's the evidence? So I said to her, Nat, I said, I called you out. Either you're lying or you don't know what you're talking about. I haven't heard one word from her, and I haven't seen her on there in days since I said that. And I'll tell you what, a lot of her followers, guess what? Started following me and talking to me. Back what you're saying up. Back it up. If it's this, the Constitution, don't lie to the people. If it's the red flag laws they're trying to put out here, don't lie. That's why I said go ahead and do your own research. I've been saying this for years. Don't listen to the news. Don't listen to these corrupt politicians. Now, I'm not calling every politician corrupt because there's some good ones out there. There are good ones on both sides. I'll say it. I've talked to some of them on the right and left, and some of them are good on both sides. I'm not going to say there's bad people there. But a lot of them are corrupt too up there, as we know, and we're seeing it. You know, there was also talk today that I was listening, Jerry, that some of these billionaires are actually running Joe Biden right now, running the country and telling him what to do.
Well, I don't know if it's any billionaires, but I guarantee that there's somebody else doing it because Biden's not running things.
I'm just saying there was that. There was somebody was talking about that today, and actually he was on the news. It was a thought. It was an idea. Yeah. It's possible. Anything's possible right now because we've never seen this country like this.
No.
I have never in my entire life seen anything this crazy, this world, this sickness, everything we're going through right now. I mean, we talked about Pride Month. Okay, let me tell you something about Pride Month. I'm not against, and we've talked about this before, I'm not against gay people, but I am not. Why do we have to have a whole month of Pride? Why do we have to have a whole month of Black History Month? We know. Let's just have, if you want to do it a day like the military. Why have a whole month of it? Why? Why even have, and let's talk about Black History TV, and I love black people. I hate to use the word black and white, well, because I'm not racist, but why have black entertainment? Why not just have TV for everybody? If I put white entertainment, that would be a big problem. It's not, you're when you say that stuff, guys, when on the left, when you're sitting there saying, black, when you're using that word, or you're using gay, or using whatever the case may be, using in that, oh, well, we did this. No, you're making it racist. Base it on the person. I know a lot of gay people that are nice, and guess what? That's their choice to do that. That's fine. And I've been friends with, I've had gay friends for years, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? That's it. And, that's whatever. And I have plenty of friends that are, I hate to use the word black and all that. We've said it, but I have friends that are black. And they agree with me on a lot of this stuff. Let me tell you, they do. It's gotten ridiculous. And let's talk about these parades in the streets. Okay, these parades they're talking about. Don't go dancing around half naked out there. There's children out there. This is ridiculous. A parent should pull their child away from that. A parent that takes their child to any of that stuff, they should be charged. Plain and simple.
Yeah, like the ones recently that were like having their kid put dollar bills in the transgender stripper.
Absolutely.
That was terrible.
You are a sick parent, and you're a terrible parent. You're not fit to be a parent at all, and you're not. It's a very bad idea. You're teaching your kids wrong. They're not being taught right. And look what's happening to the kids in this world. It's all on you, parents. It really is. And you know what? I get passionate about this because I was raised right. I really was. Look at my history. Look at my background. I don't care. Look me up. So, what's up, Jerry? Anything else? Sorry. I get passionate about this because it's almost when I see this stuff, it's almost like pedophiles out there with this stuff. It's sick.
Well, that's the next step. I mean, what you do is you get one thing accepted, and then you just move it to the next step. It's like you and I have talked about for quite some time now. Yeah. So, they do a red flag law, and, oh, okay, so now we have an opportunity to, an avenue to take away people's guns, and then, we normalize one little thing, and then that's just the next step, and then, next thing you know, they say, okay, we got red flag. Goes, oh, well, let's see. Well, now we've got COVID happening, or whatever the next, health scare is. And, we want to make sure that, people don't run to the grocery store and try and steal all the toilet paper. Yeah. So maybe we should just take all the guns away for right now.
Right.
And it's like, that worked pretty well. Maybe we should come up with a new law that anytime there's an emergency, everybody has to turn their guns in. That's when you need them.
I know.
It's like, but, so all these laws, they're just one step to, to the next thing. And so, they're trying to, like, for example, what was that one politician brought up the thing about pedophiles. She wanted to change the name to, she wasn't a politician. Wow. She was a college professor to minor attracted people.
I can't remember his name. Yeah. I mean, that's sick. Come on.
Because if you can change the name to something less offensive, then, it'll be more acceptable.
Yeah. Hey, I want to bring up, I'm a Christian. We're going to talk about this, guys, just for a second. Okay, let's talk about something here. And whatever religion you are, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I mean, I don't care what religion you are. Because in religion, most religion, and there's some radicals on both sides. We know there's radical Christians, there's radical Muslims, everything else. We talked about that. And, I mean, I've got friends that are Muslim. We'll talk about that, too. I mean, I have nothing against them, and we've talked about religion, and there's some things that we have some familiarities with. I mean, that's fine. But again, I just want to talk about this because two things. When you are sitting here and you're trying to justify something, if it's a sin, let's just say it's a sin, which we're talking about tonight. We're talking about all this dancing and stuff on the streets half naked. Well, guess what? You're saying, well, it's just this. I'm just doing a little bit. Well, guess what? You're talking yourself into something really that is a sin. It's not good. And then all of a sudden, you get a little more, like Jerry and I were just talking about. And you're getting more and more, and you're talking yourself into this saying, well, it's okay. Guess what? It's not. It really, truly isn't. I mean, there's a reason why there's the Bible out there. There's a reason why, there's churches out there. There's some churches that obviously that aren't good. I can go down that road, but I'm not going to tonight. There's churches that aren't. There's some churches I don't agree with on some things out there. But again, and it's not based on the religion, it's based on how they're teaching.
Well, no, exactly. That's the thing that people
just like a teacher,
try and form it to their own thoughts. And like,
Right.
for example, I hear people all the time say, well, well, I like, the Bible, but I don't agree with this part of it. Well, that's not a book that you decide what part you like, what part you don't like. And the same thing should be for our Constitution, for our Bill of Rights, and, the other laws that came from our founding fathers. Is it should be, hey, look, you know what, whether I agree with it or disagree with it, it's law of the land, and we got to go with it. If we don't like it, then we need to hold a constitutional convention and have another amendment to the Constitution. And, a lot of people right now, they say, well, it's just too hard to do a constitutional amendment. Well, you know what? We've had almost 30 of them so far, so apparently it wasn't too hard.
Yeah. And and talking a little more on religion, we all sin. We do. I'm guilty of it. We all are. We all do. But it's when you continue to take that further and further and further and think it's normal and rationalize that in your head. Oh, it's okay. It's normal. It's normal. And you rationalize it because it's something you're starting to like, and it's not good. So, anyway, didn't want to be a preacher because I'm not, but I do want to talk about that a little bit because that is going into some of the stuff we're talking about because they're giving in more and more and more and more, and is what they're doing. They really are. And they're thinking they're normalizing it.
Politically correct that, even though they know that it's a bad path to go down, they just don't want to be that person that says something negative. So a lot of people just, stand back and let improper things be said and improper things be done.
Well, they're trying to normalize it too. And then the problem is, like Jerry just said, a lot of these politicians don't have a backbone in them, and they're going, well, maybe if I kind of say this on one side, even though I don't agree with it, because I want their vote. Are you the politician you claimed you were when you started this whole thing? Are you?
And most are not.
No, you changed who you said you were. I tell you what. Be bound by your word. Be a man or a lady that's respected. And let me tell you, if you don't get the vote, that's fine. But you know what? At least you were respected for it. You kept your morals, your ethics, and what you told the American people you were going to do. You stood by it, and you did the right thing. And that's where this is all going tonight. This truly is. And we've heard politicians talk and say they're going to do this. And maybe when they start, they do. Maybe some of them truly do. And there are some out there, like I said, who stand by it, but they're the ones you don't hear of. They're the ones that kind of get covered up like, oh, well, we got Nancy over here, and we got, Chuck Schumer over here, and then we got, Mitt Romney over here, and Tom Tillis over here, but they're focusing on that, but it's the other ones that you're not hearing about, the good politicians that are in there, and there are some good ones. There truly are on both sides. I'm not going to knock the Democrats on that because I know some good Democrats as well.
A lot of times are the ones that go out and speak in front of the cameras and get in front of the microphone and, go out and say things like, even though he has done a lot of good things.
Oh, sure.
Probably one of the biggest disappointments in the last, maybe 4 or 5 years has been Lindsey Graham. The guy gets in front of a microphone and does a great speech and talks about, things and gets people all fired up going, so you're finally going to do something. And then he doesn't do anything about it. And it's like, the good news is at least he gets people fired up and then they start trying to get other politicians involved.
Yeah.
But it's just so disappointing to have somebody like him that just goes out and, and some of the things he said, I'm a big fan of. I mean, he was the guy that stood up in the Kavanaugh hearing and, basically kind of, admonished the Democrats for the way that they were handling it. And it's like, and that was fantastic because I think it kind of changed the direction of the way that hearing was going. But he doesn't really get a lot accomplished, in Congress.
Not at all.
And that's the disappointment.
And the disappointment is when you're talking about a couple of these Republicans as well. We're hearing a lot of stuff from them, and yet I'm not seeing action. I'm not. We've got a president right now who's not doing a good job. We've got a vice president that doesn't even know what she's doing at all. We've got a president, I'll say it. Let's talk about his wife. Why isn't she saying, Joe, this is going on with you. We see what's going on with you. Why don't you step down? Where's the passion and love?
She's enthused with the power that, or the notoriety, I should say, that she gets.
Correct.
Being the first lady.
Correct. And I don't like to go after first ladies on this, but if my own wife said this, she said to me, if you were president and this was going on, I would have a talk with you and say, look, sweetie, it's time for you to step down because you shouldn't be in that position. You really shouldn't be, because I care about you and I love you. And that's the truth. That's what my wife told me, actually what she would have said to me if I were in that position. Why isn't Joe Biden's wife doing this? Because Jerry just said it. Anyway, I know we're going a little long on this podcast tonight, but I did text out to you guys, and Jerry, I don't think you know this. I did text out on Twitter last night, a couple other social media sites, that we were going to have a big podcast tonight. And
okay.
I'm going to have a few more podcasts throughout the week. It's going to be pretty much a heavy week on podcasts for me, because with what's going on right now, I do not like seeing what's going on with this country. I mean, we're talking gas, we're talking interest rates now going up to cover the inflation. That's the purpose of rates going up, to try to get this inflation lowered. This inflation should never have gotten to this point. It should not have. And the cause of this is still in office right now.
Yep.
Why aren't they impeaching this guy? Why not? They want to do trials.
The left is just hiding it because he's on the left as well. You know, I mean, if they were actually doing their job, they would say, hey, sorry, you're a Democrat, but, you know, you're doing a horrible job. You're out of here.
No, all they want to do is talk about January 6th still, which has been a year and a half ago. You're wasting taxpayers' dollars again. Again and again and again.
Well, they're just trying to find a way to put a black mark against Trump to keep him from being able to run for president.
Well, guess what? Then we got the governor of Florida. You think he's going to stand back? No, he won't. And if he goes in there, guess what? You think Trump was bad? We've seen the governor of Florida, and I'm telling you, I respect that man a lot. I truly do. You know, you got people on The View today. I was listening to them over the last couple of days on this View. They shouldn't even be on the show. They're a disgrace to this country right now, what they're saying on that show. They're a disgrace. All of them. And I mean, just seeing what's going on is a disgrace with a lot of these people out there. And some on the right as well. It's truly true. It's truly the way it is, guys. It really is.
Yep.
Morals and ethics. Freedom of speech. Morals, ethics with freedom of speech. I always say freedom of speech is there, but do it with respect. And that goes for the ones who are flying flags with the F word, F Joe Biden. Let me tell you something. Kids don't need to see that. They made up another thing with Brandon. That's fine. We as adults know what that means, but don't let kids see these flags flying. I may not agree with Joe Biden, obviously, as we know. But when you fall down that road and you're posting those flags in front of your kids and you're saying that kind of language, are you any better? Think about it. Think about it. Now, I know you're angry, and I know you get that. And some of you probably just got pissed off at me and not just saying that. But there's other ways around it. Let's go, Brandon. There you go. We know what that means. Yep. Jerry knows what that means.
I got the T-shirt, the hat, the face mask. I got it all.
And Jerry doesn't wear the F word on his stuff.
No. It says let's go, Brandon.
Jerry's respectable. Yeah. He knows. He knows. And he's a Christian, and his wife's a Christian. Let me tell you, because I know them, and I have a lot of respect for those two. A lot. And I'll tell you, if it came down to it, honestly, if it came down to somebody going at Jerry, I would defend him with my own life. That's how much I care about Jerry and his wife. There's very few people I'm like that with. I got two other people in my life out there that are friends like that. So anyway, Jerry, anything else?
Yeah, I'll leave this and not start a whole new topic, but I'll
Yeah, go
just
ahead.
leave this to thought
Sure.
for people. We always talk about the one step at a time, one step at a time.
Yeah.
And,
Conditioning.
mentioning you know, being Christian, that's the next thing that's going to be under attack too.
It already is.
And, you know, that's just one thing that we have to make sure doesn't happen as well, because, pretty soon, it'll be something where, like in European and other countries, where people have to literally meet in back rooms, and you could go to prison for getting caught with a Bible and everything. We're getting close to that right now here in the U.S., and we need to be very careful of that.
We do. You know what? And I want to say it. Okay, so Jerry knows this in the Constitution. In the Constitution, what do they talk about in this Constitution when this thing was written? A lot of God.
Well, yeah, our
God.
country is based on Christian principles, and
Correct.
people call them Judeo-Christian principles because pretty much the Old Testament was, pretty much what the Jewish version of the Bible is, and the New Testament is what Christians have added on to the Old Testament,
Right.
and so but it's just it's our country was based on Christian principles. And as a matter of fact, if you look back at the original colonies, I forget the exact number. It was like
13.
Of the original 13 colonies, it was like 11. You had to be a member of a church to run for office. If you wanted to run for political office. And so, and our country, basically there's not a lot of disagreement that the first real settlers were pilgrims.
Right.
And what they were is they were religious refugees from the Church of England. They had to leave England, under persecution.
Yeah.
And so, so the first, European settlers were, basically Christians.
Yeah.
And so, it's kind of funny because our whole government is set up, like you said, our Constitution references God, or our Bill of Rights references God. It's on our money. I
got money saying
because it's in our country's founding.
Right.
And so that's another one of the things. If they can get, if they can marginalize or diminish Christianity, makes it one step easier to dismantling the country.
Let's talk about the Pledge of Allegiance. They want to take God out of that, one nation under God. Look, God, for a lot of people, I mean, not saying you need to be a Christian. That's your choice. I'm never going to push it on anybody. I will always plant a seed. But God may be whatever God you believe in, and that's your choice. There may be just God. There may be, if you're a Muslim, I hear God, but they use a different name, whatever. I'm not going to knock any religion as long as they're not out there killing anybody or anything else. There are the radicals on both sides, on that side, and there's radicals on the Christian side, too. God knows. They've had their past. Let's look at their past. The Christians had a very brutal past. They really have. But we got to keep God in all this. We truly do. Because when we lose that, look what's happening to this country right now, and even parts of the world. Look at Canada right now. Look who's running in Canada right now. And I've got friends in Canada up there, and I'll tell you what, they're telling me they do not like this guy running Canada right now. Only in the cities. They got certain cities that like this guy because they're more like, as we would say, liberal. They're like that up there. We're outside of the cities, no. Anyway, any thoughts on this, Jerry, before we end this?
Nope, that'll be good.
All right, we have now gone on an hour. And normally we want to run these things 30 minutes. But I'll tell you what, I haven't been on in a few days, so I wanted to see what's been happening. Look, I'm going to be on tomorrow night. I'm going to be on the next night. I'm going to be talking a lot because there's a lot coming up. I'll be talking about it. I also want to be talking about the sheriff running for Wake County, Donnie Harrison. We'll be talking about him. I'm going to do another podcast just on him alone in probably the next day or two, probably 2 days from now, I'm thinking. We got Father's Day coming up. And let me tell you, respect your father, respect your mother, respect your brother and sister too as well. But, I don't have my father anymore. He's in my heart. He's here with me, in my opinion. He's standing right here in my studio watching everything I do right now. That's the way I feel about it. So is my mother. And I feel like an orphan without them. If you've lost both of your parents, you will understand. Jerry is a father. He's going to be with his children this weekend. And I'll tell you, keep your children close. Keep your parents close, because those are the ties you have in this world that bond family together. Anything else there, Jerry? Because you are a father.
Nope. That'll do it.
All right. Well, as always, I want to thank our law enforcement for everything you guys do out there. You guys are doing a great job. We're very proud of you. We're also very proud of what you're going through right now. There's a lot that's going on. Look, there's been talk about, well, they've been talking about maybe things in the summer getting crazy. We've got another, before we end this too, I do want to say we got, my understanding, I'm not sure. Have you heard this, Jerry? I heard maybe by Monday we may have a ruling on Roe versus Wade.
Yeah, that's possible, because
It's
that's
possible.
when they first leaked the that memo, or that document or whatever. They were talking about the decision would come sometime in June. So we're already halfway through June. So it's very possible next week.
Yeah, I've heard Monday. It could be sometime next week. I don't have a full answer on that. So, if that happens, then we're going to see some craziness out there on the streets. And it's obviously going to be the left mostly, because the right's not going to want to do this. And obviously, when these things happen, it's usually from the left. It really, not even usually, it is from the left. So we got to watch out for Antifa. They're out there, obviously. BLM might start up something out there. Who knows? And other groups. So keep an eye out. Be safe, guys, because if things like that happen, and let's just say they go in, they start doing crazy stuff to cities like it's been done in the past, stay home. Don't go down there and try to intervene or get involved in that, because all you're doing is getting in the way of the police officers that are allowed to do their job. You know where I went with that, because some have to stand by and do nothing. But the ones that are allowed to do their job, let them do their job. Just stay away from that, because you don't want to be involved in that. And I'm saying on both sides. Stay away from it. But anyway, thanks for our law enforcement for everything you do. I also want to thank our military for everything you guys are doing out there. You guys are awesome. I want to thank our first responders as well. I also want to thank our truck drivers. Speaking of which, one last thing on that. There's still baby formula shortages out there. My own nephew is having a big problem getting food for his kid. So I want to say that my wife's even been looking around to try to help them, and she can't find anything. Why isn't this being handled? That's another story. But anyway, I do want to thank you for all the people out there actually working and collecting a paycheck, because obviously a lot of people aren't working still. I don't know how they're surviving, I guess off welfare checks or something. Which that's another story, because Jerry and I talked about that, because if all these taxes and everything go crazy like we're talking about, and all these things are going crazy, guess what? Welfare checks are going to be harder to get too. Isn't that right, Jerry?
Yep, because that's comes from taxes. Taxpayers provide the welfare.
Absolutely.
So if you got people that aren't making any money, then you're collecting less taxes, and if you're collecting less taxes, you got less tax money to spend.
Yeah, so for those of you sitting out there on the couch and not really getting off the couch or working, time to put the big boy pants on the I don't want to say big girl, because I'll get knocked on that one from somebody, I'm sure, but time to grow up. Get out there and work and do what you're supposed to do, because it's time. All right, anyway, guys, God bless you. God bless America. Have a great evening, and thanks for listening, and take care. And I will talk with you tomorrow night, because I am doing a podcast tomorrow night. Always check me out also on just the -mark, commonsense.com. Again, just the -mark, commonsense.com. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Rumble. I am on Apple. I'm on Spotify. I am, shall I go on? I'm Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. I'm everywhere now, pretty much. So, otherwise, guys, thanks for listening. Have a great night. Take care.